Dr. J. Raj's Literary Lens presents Part 1, After Theory, Lecture 8, Object-Oriented Ontology, From Philosophical Roots to Literary Application. This lecture is prepared and presented by Dr. S. Joseph Arul Jairaj, former Head and Associate Professor of English, St. Joseph's College Autonomous, Tiruchirappalli, Tamil Nadu, India. Introduction. For centuries, Western thought has been profoundly anthropocentric, placing the human experience at the center of reality. From philosophy to literary criticism, the world has often been understood primarily in its relation to us, as something to be perceived by our minds, acted upon by our bodies, or interpreted by our cultures. Object-oriented ontology radically disrupts this tradition. It proposes a world populated not just by humans, but by a countless multitude of objects, both animate and inanimate, natural and manufactured, that exist independently of our perception of them. A chair, a thought, a black hole, and a novel are all in this view objects with their own reality, their own histories, and their own hidden depths. This talk explores the journey of object-oriented ontology from its origins in continental philosophy to its application as a powerful new tool for literary analysis. First, it traces the philosophical roots of object-oriented ontology, identifying the problem it sought to solve, what Quentin Meillassoux terms correlationism, and introducing the key figures who shaped its core principles. Second, it breaks down the central tenets of object-oriented ontology, such as the withdrawal of objects and the concept of a flat ontology, and uses simple analogies to make these abstract ideas accessible. Finally, it demonstrates how literary critics have adapted these philosophical concepts to reread classic and contemporary texts, focusing not only on human characters, but also on the vibrant agency of the non-human actors who populate the narrative world. By following this path, the chapter shows how object-oriented ontology offers a unique and insightful lens for understanding both the world we inhabit and the stories we tell about it. Object-oriented ontology is a 21st-century philosophical movement that challenges the traditional human-centered view of the world. This talk traces the origins of object-oriented ontology within the broader context of speculative realism, outlining its foundational concepts as articulated by thinkers such as Graham Harman and Quentin Meillassoux. It then explores the development of object-oriented ontology into a literary theory, demonstrating how its core tenets, such as the withdrawal of objects, flat ontology, and vibrant matter, offer a revolutionary framework for interpreting literature. By decentering the human subject, object-oriented ontology allows us to analyze texts as complex assemblages of objects, settings, and forces, where non-human entities possess their own agency and reality. Through simple language and clear examples, this talk aims to provide readers and researchers with a comprehensive understanding of this influential and exciting theoretical approach. Theory: the philosophical origins of object-oriented ontology. Object-oriented ontology did not emerge in a vacuum. Its development was a direct response to a long-standing problem in modern philosophy, often associated with the German philosopher Immanuel Kant. Kant argued that we can never know things in themselves, noumena, only the world as it appears to us through our mental frameworks, phenomena. This idea led many subsequent philosophers to a stance that the French philosopher Quentin Meillassoux famously labeled correlationism. In simple terms, correlationism is the belief that we never think an object without thinking of it, and we never think of it without thinking that it is. Meillassoux 5. In other words, we can only ever access the correlation between thought and being. Absolute reality, independent of human thought, remains forever out of reach. In the early 2000s, a group of philosophers began to rally against these limitations. This loose coalition became known as speculative realism. The goal was to move beyond the human-world correlation and to speculate, once again, about the nature of reality itself. One of these thinkers was Graham Harman, who is considered the founder of object-oriented ontology. While other speculative realists had different projects, Harman focused specifically on the nature of objects. Harman argued that correlationism, even in its anti-Kantian forms, still grants a special status to the human, or at least the conscious, relation to the world. He proposed instead an object-oriented philosophy, which later became known as Object-Oriented Ontology. The central move was to strip away the human as the center of the universe, and declare that all objects are on equal ontological footing. Another key figure, Levi Bryant, echoed this idea, calling it a democracy of objects, Bryant 23. For Harman and Bryant, humanity is just one type of object among many, no more privileged in its access to reality than a stone, a planet, or a computer. This radical decentering of the human is the foundational gesture of object-oriented ontology. Core tenets of object-oriented ontology. To understand how object-oriented ontology functions as a literary theory, one must first grasp its basic philosophical principles. These can be broken down into four interconnected concepts. A. The withdrawal of objects. The most fundamental principle of Harman's object-oriented ontology is that objects withdraw. This means that no object, human or non-human, can ever be fully experienced or defined by its relations to other objects. Think of a coffee cup. We can feel its smooth ceramic, see its blue color, and use it to hold hot liquid. These are all of the cup's sensual qualities, its surface appearances for us or for the coffee it holds. But according to Harman, the real cup, its deep hidden, is never entirely present. The cup always contains more reality than is revealed at any given moment. This real object forever withdraws from any attempt to grasp it completely. Harman 96. This applies to everything, a tree, a thought, a character in a novel, even the novel itself. B. A flat ontology. Arising from the withdrawal of all objects is the concept of a flat ontology. In a traditional hierarchical ontology, human consciousness is at the top, followed by living things, then inanimate matter. Object-oriented ontology flattens this hierarchy. In a flat ontology, a storm, a corporation, a virus, and a human being are all equally objects. They are all real, and they all interact with one another, but none is fundamentally more important or more real than the others in the grand scheme of being. Bryant argues this creates a democracy of objects, where all entities have the right to exist independently. Bryant 1. This has profound implications. It allows us to see non-human things not as mere backdrop for human action, but as powerful actors in their own right. The idea of non-human agency is made more tangible in the work of Jane Bennett, a political theorist closely allied with object-oriented ontology. In her book Vibrant Matter, Bennett explores the thing power of objects, their capacity to act, to affect other bodies, and to make a difference in the world. She describes a moment of realizing that the strange vitality of a discarded glove, a pollen-coated bottle cap, and a dead rat were not just passive stuff, but were part of a vibrant, energetic assemblage. Bennett 4. For Bennett, matter is not dead, inert, or passive. It is lively, vibrant, and capable of exerting its own form of agency. This concept provides a crucial bridge for literary analysis, as it encourages us to ask how the objects within a story are not just symbols, but active participants in the plot. If objects are always withdrawn from one another, how do they interact? Harman proposes that objects relate to each other through allure. An object never makes direct contact with the real essence of another object. Instead, it engages with the other object's surface qualities, but in doing so, it senses a flicker, a hint, of the deeper reality that lies within. This allure is enough to spark a change without ever fully revealing the other object. Unlike the two pairs of eyes of the lovers, two colliding billiard balls do not touch their real selves. They interact through their surfaces, and this interaction is sufficient to cause them to change course. This model of indirect causation is key for understanding how objects in a literary world can influence one another in complex and mysterious ways. The development of object-oriented ontology as a literary theory. With these philosophical tools in hand, literary critics began to see new possibilities for analyzing texts. Traditional literary criticism often focuses on human characters, authors, or readers. Object-oriented ontology offers a different set of questions. What is the role of the setting as an object? How does a single object, like a piece of jewelry or a house, shape the narrative? How do the non-human forces in a novel, weather, geology, architecture, form an assemblage with the human characters? The first major application is to treat objects as characters. Instead of seeing an object as a mere symbol for a human idea, object-oriented ontology asks us to consider the object's own career within the text. The classic example is the white whale in Herman Melville's Moby Dick. A traditional reading might see Moby Dick as a symbol of nature's fury, God's vengeance, or Ahab's own madness. An object-oriented ontology reading, however, takes the whale seriously as an object in its own right. As scholar Timothy Morton argues, the whale is a strange stranger, an object that withdraws from Captain Ahab's obsessive attempts to define and capture it. Morton 165. The whale's agency, its immense power, its inscrutability, its very existence as a massive non-human object, is what drives the entire novel to its tragic conclusion. The human drama is entirely secondary to the clash between Ahab and the withdrawn reality of the whale. Second, object-oriented ontology encourages us to analyze the setting as a dynamic assemblage. In a novel like Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights, the Yorkshire moors are not simply a picturesque backdrop for Catherine and Heathcliff's passionate love. From an object-oriented ontology perspective, the moors are an active, non-human force. The wind, the rain, the soil, the rocks, the heather, all are vibrant objects that form a powerful assemblage. This assemblage shapes the characters' personalities, moods, and fates. The characters are not masters of their environment. They are entangled within it, just one part of a larger network of interacting objects. As literary critic Jeffrey Cohen suggests in a related context, we can begin to read the ecology of a text, where the non-human elements are as crucial to the narrative structure as the human protagonists. Cohen 7. Finally, object-oriented ontology invites us to consider the text itself as an object. A book is not just a vehicle for meaning. It is a physical thing made of paper, ink, glue, and cloth. It has a weight, a smell, and a texture. This material existence is separate from the sensual experience of reading it. An object-oriented ontology approach might analyze how the text influences its meaning. A massive, heavy encyclopedia presents a different kind of knowledge than a fleeting digital tweet. Even the novel as a form, an object with a beginning, middle, and end, structures how we understand reality. The text itself withdraws its real meaning, offering only interpretations that can never fully capture its essence. Conclusion: object-oriented ontology began as a complex philosophical movement, but its core ideas offer a refreshingly new and powerful way to engage with literature. By challenging the human-centric worldview and proposing a flat ontology where all objects are ontologically equal, object-oriented ontology provides critics with the tools to decenter the human subject. The concepts of object withdrawal, vibrant matter, and indirect causation encourage us to see literature as a vibrant ecosystem of interacting entities. Applying object-oriented ontology to literary texts allows us to trace the agency of non-human actors like Moby Dick, to see the setting as a dynamic force as in Wuthering Heights, and to appreciate the material reality of the book itself. While it may seem abstract at first, object-oriented ontology ultimately encourages a form of weird realism that is deeply attentive to the world's complexity. It teaches students to read not just for human psychology or social commentary, but also for the intricate, mysterious, and powerful lives of the countless objects that share our world and populate our stories. In doing so, it offers a profound and necessary expansion of our critical imagination.